Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to my new episode with Ron Stotts. I'm so excited to have my guest here because I spoke to you, I think, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and we had massive conversation about consciousness, about higher self, and we talk about leadership and we talk about healing. And it was such a beautiful conversation, and I was so looking forward to today. And I know that your insights, your experience, and the way you see the world, the way you see people and transformation will be very valuable. That means I'm looking forward to have this conversation. And before I will start to try to make up some introduction, I will ask you to introduce yourself and tell us more about you. Like who is Ron?
Who is Ron? That's a good question. Ron's a guy who's really, I had some challenges early on, and I really took on an exploration of life and really looking at ancient wisdom, looking at the latest in neurology and psychology, and really exploring initially what I was capable of becoming, who I was, what was holding me back. And that exploration, of course, then took me into, well, what's the potential for human beings? And, I was a college instructor and I kind of started looking at, well, what's the psychology of learning? And so I went off to get the PhD in that, and it really turned into the psychology of transformational becoming and exploring the best of life. And that's really my entire life has been about that transformative journey of living, becoming.
Yeah, I absolutely. I remember that was the major point when you said that you are basically on exploration of life and just trying to understanding. I think in a yoga world or meditation world, they always call us seekers, and having that understanding of life, I think there is always something to learn, right? It's just
It's
such a
never ending so far.
exactly. Yeah, I have a long journey ahead, and I know I can't finish it probably in this lifetime. Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand that. That's
you've
beautiful.
got some options. That's good.
Yeah, I love that, and I will probably go back to you said, you have some challenges, and I'm sure you have amazing story. And when you shared it with me, it really touched my heart. And I will
Mhm.
probably ask you about that because it wasn't just like, like you've been 18 and you decided to go on exploration of life, but your story is much deeper than that. And
That'd be nice.
something happened in your life that really made you change or made you to be or become something that is not very usual, right? Like we don't have a lot of people, they decide to go on a journey of exploring life and really understanding human beings and why we are here. And
Right.
I really love that you just took yourself on the journey, but I know there was a big story behind that. Are
Yeah.
you actually open to share it with us?
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's we're all raised in a family that, and almost regardless of what that family looks like, how horrendous or how loving it is,
Yeah.
that's normal. That's what we think of as normal. We feel like, oh, everybody else is playing out some level of that in their relationships and
Yeah.
families. And so I thought I was, leave it to Beaver family. It was just this perfect, wonderful, loving family. And, I knew my folks had come from difficult backgrounds, but they were really madly in love with each other and created a
Yeah.
safe, supportive environment. And so, I went into athletics. I wasn't much of a student at the time, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm excelled at that. And so I figured I had life figured out. It was just like, oh, just one foot in front of the other, and a piece of cake. I got this. Unfortunately, then I went into the Marine Corps and stumbled into a reality that had nothing to do with anything that I was comfortable with, learning to
Yeah.
either kill or be killed. And I, you know, my father had been in World War II, so I kind of felt like I wanted to follow his footsteps and make him proud and all of those things. And that's really probably the essence of the challenge is I went in with expectations. I went in with a sense of what it was all about, who I should be, and
Yeah.
realized that I was really quite different. I
Yeah.
was I wouldn't say I was ever aware that I was a conscientious objector, but the idea of going to Vietnam and killing people or being killed just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And just so I had a very tough time and got out of the Marine Corps. And back then we didn't have things called PTSD. You were just supposed to be tough and figure it out and all of that. But
Yeah.
I really, within a year or two after the Marine Corps, I was a mess. I was a big mess, and I just lost custody of my two sons, got a divorce, found out most of the people that I'd been to Vietnam with or was in the Marine Corps with had died, and so I things just started falling apart. And I had no psychological awareness, so I had no way to look deeper.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, when you don't know where to look, you look at how do you get out of this, and that's when I tried to commit suicide. And I remember just sitting in the forest, and it was about the third day of a of this going into the forest to decide whether I was going to commit suicide or not. And I decided I would. And I kind of said, well, God, if you have anything that you'd
Yeah.
like to say to me now would be a good time. And so I didn't hear anything. So I thought, okay, well, and then I made a very definite, clear attempt to commit suicide. And the irony of it is, just as I was doing that, and I was in the midst of it, not without any hesitation, all of a sudden I just dissolved in this white ball of light. And this is not something I knew anything about, and I lost any awareness of my body and the surrounding and all. But what I felt was this clarity about the perfection of the world. I felt the oneness of the world. I felt like I was in that oneness and
Mm.
in a very expanded state. And I recognized that I could trust that there was something here for me to be doing. And, I don't know how long I was in that state, but when I came
Yeah.
out, I just had a clear sense of, I still didn't know who I was. I was still this kid who had all the issues and challenges that he had before, but I had a sense of direction. I wanted to find out how do I reach that state again? How do I recognize that perfection in my life? And so that was the beginning of my journey. And so it started with breathing and looking deeper and becoming more self-aware and
Yeah.
continued from there. Yeah.
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing. I know that's probably hard things to talk
Yeah.
about, but I really, really appreciate it because I know a few people they had experienced war and they really struggle and they, work through for years to overcome, first it was depression, anxieties, and it was so many different things rolling through their life. And yes, I know a lot of people, they don't even have family or they lose their family. And sadly, it wasn't a lot of awareness about, psychology, emotional fitness, mental state. And
Yeah.
actually there was no awareness, even though that I found a lot of older books, they were already talking about those things, but almost like that type of books disappeared. Now
Uh-huh.
they're coming out with all this knowledge of universe and energy and actually positive mindset and thinking and how those actually creates emotions. And I can't believe that it was such an old knowledge and
Mhm.
it just disappeared from our life. And now it's coming back, for people like yourself.
Yeah.
And I love it that you experience that oneness. And I would love to know about that, but I think you probably don't know even how to explain, right? Because when we are in that state of beautiful state, higher state, and yeah, it's almost hard. It's hard. It's because I last time I said it's like a
Yeah.
pure love. I don't know how to call it different way.
It's all the things that keep us separate are gone. All the things that all our fears are gone. All of our, you know, ego is gone. We're really just in this place at it's the best of who and what we are. It's the height of who we are. It's our connected place to everything that is. And
Yeah.
in that level of connection, you realize that you're not separate, that you're not alone. There's nothing to be afraid of. And I've really learned to trust that the universe is perfectly designed to support us in
Yeah.
all ways as we go through life. I really see, not that I always handle things well, but I always
Yeah.
see that, well, yeah, whatever comes into my life is perfectly designed to support me in opening up my heart and living more fully and loving more fully. And so, it's like the Marine Corps was this horrendous time. And yet the gift from that was that I went on a completely different path than I would have ever even imagined existed, let
Absolutely.
alone had the courage to go on.
Yeah.
But it was a path of healing. It was a path of opening up my heart and mind. It was a path of learning to meditate, learning to become more aware, to become emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent, and all of these things allowed me to shift from that separateness, that male ego part, that male dominant part. All of those things began to just fall away. All the things that, and all the rules that I'd been raised with, I just needed to let go of. And it was, in my early 20s, I was in a really place of just, okay, I'm let go of all that. And now who am I going to become? What are my rules? What do I value?
Yeah.
What's important to me? And I think everybody needs to find that place. I feel fortunate that I got that wake up call so early in my life because
Yeah.
I'm working with people in their 40s, 50s, 60s who are just getting it, and they're
Yeah.
going, "Whoa, geez, I'm finally falling in love with myself at 50 something years old." And but the truth is, any time is the right time. Whatever you have to go through to get to that moment when you're willing to step back and be vulnerable enough and open enough to say, hey, I need some help.
Yeah.
I need to look within and not
Yeah.
outside anymore. Yeah.
There's so many things that I wanted to touch base on when you were talking, because it's so beautifully said. First of all, that everyone can get that journey or can get on that journey of
Oh, yeah.
rediscovering life and themselves. And I believe as well, when you mentioned universe, and everything is perfect, there is perfect time for everyone. And it can be perfect time when they're in 50s and 60s. And I will be, yes, super honest. I'm experiencing very similar reality, that people in their 60s actually have transformation, and they cry and they
Mhm.
talk to me the way that they are. I can't believe, Alex, I was living my life as someone else.
Right.
I was not me for 60 years. And everyone is prepared at different time, I guess, but the major thing is that actually when that happens, I think that's most important. And I love what you said, that there is this oneness and this perfection, like this perfect world without almost any negative or positive feelings. It's just it is, and
Just
it's
is.
just state of being, right? And
Mhm.
I will be probably curious, because you went through the journey and you really had to fall down on that, bottom, like that real emotional bottom, where you actually needed to have that wake up call. And it was probably sent from universe, right? Because it was so early,
I don't
and
know
it's
where else
like,
it came
hey,
from at that
you're not going to die, Ron. You need to speak with Alex, one day.
age. Yeah.
And you get that, like that beautiful gift of actually trauma, that beautiful gift of something really, what we think bad happened to us, but it's a gift. And
Yeah.
I really try to tell people that everything that we think it's bad happening to us, it's not. It's a gift, and it's a
It is.
learning curve. Yeah. And what you will probably suggest about how people can do it before, is that any path they can start taking before they will really, fall down on that bottom, emotional bottom, when sometimes it's too late for some people, right? Because some people don't have.
It's really sad that usually people are motivated by pain.
Yeah,
They,
that is, yeah.
they have to have so much pain in their life that they can't not go through. They're willing to let go and
Yeah.
look at what they need to do to take care of themselves. And I see it with the leadership that I work with. They've really done well. They've struggled and efforted, but they've gotten to where they've gotten to, and now they're stuck. And again, not until they're really beating
Yeah.
themselves up and in pain and struggling again? Or are
Everything
they
is
willing to
softened
go,
up.
oh, maybe I need some help here? And
Yeah.
it's like, that's just a, I'd rather see people motivated by wanting to be better, by recognizing what they want to do with their life and saying, well, who do I need to be to live that life, to create that life? Rather than, oh, I'm not enough and I'm afraid I'll never be enough, and being
Yeah.
motivated by those fears. That it just doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't.
Yeah,
And so,
it's almost like people are more motivated by pain than by their vision, right? It's almost
ordinarily so.
crazy, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you mentioned a lot about living in that
Mhm.
masculine energy, I will call it, because I feel like what you did, you soften up, and you were able, or you created path to let that feminine energy to walk into your life. And I feel, and tell me if you experience the same, that we all live in masculine, fully masculine world. Like we try to have strategies, we try to have the path, goal setting, and we have everything together, right? Like when you look at a paper, everything looks perfect. We have perfect business, we have perfect maybe career, maybe family. Everything looks almost like from the copy paper when you actually created the perfect families with perfect houses and perfect yachts, and everything is looking awesome. And it's
Yeah.
all the hard work and it's all busyness and focusing on strategies. But do you
It's
agree?
all fear based.
Yeah, exactly. And do you that's perfectly said. I just had a conversation with my client like 5 minutes before we started, and it was like you're running all your company based on fear, and people
Yeah.
feel it. And when you are as a leader, that person that drives everything on fear, people feel it, people resist, people don't want to be there, people are not motivated, not inspired, and it's actually just one person doing it with energy, right? And
And
and do you agree with that feminine energy that we need to allow to look at the world from different perspective? We actually need to have that soften up, that feel of human beings and connections and deeper connections. I'm not talking about superficial connections,
right.
right? Like something that we sit and we feel it, not just like, yeah, I need to meet up with you because you're a great business partner and shake the hands, right? But it's real
If
feeling.
people would recognize that everything, all of their challenges, all of their issues, all of their fear, everything they're protecting their heart from is created in relationship to other people. And yet the irony is we need to be healed in relationship to other people. And so the more we keep ourselves separate, the more we're disengaged, the more male energy, that push energy, is where we're coming from. We're just supporting that fear. We're supporting
Yeah,
that disconnection within ourselves from others. We're
absolutely.
supporting our heart staying closed rather than opening up. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, it keeps our mind closed also, because when you have
yeah,
fear, you literally close down the higher capabilities of the mind. So you're not going to do as good a job in life. You
yeah.
know, you have reasons to be afraid because you're only working with half of your capabilities. So, yeah,
I love that. That means it's almost like we can see now the light shining on that loneliness on the top. It
yeah.
is actually true because it's fear-driven leadership. And more you are in fear, more actually closed down you are and more separate you are with others from others. And that makes so much sense. It's
Mhm.
such beautiful recognition of that. That is not loneliness from perspective of we are alone. We have still family, we are not alone, we have still friends, but at the top we are disconnecting because of the fear.
Yeah.
I'll probably ask you from perspective because these are a lot of like massive insights, right? When you think about fear-driven world, masculine energy-driven world, how you how you let that feminine energy in? How you soften up? What do you think is the journey, or how do you see it from your perspective? Because you basically said that you felt that moment of soften up straight away because you had the experience. But a lot of people need to do it with harder work through, the learning.
Well, I had to continue to do hard work. Trust me,
Yeah, we
that
all,
moment
yeah, we
gave me
all,
insight. Not, it didn't heal everything.
yeah,
That would have been nice, but no, I think it. Certainly my work is what that's all about. Is people come to me, and the initial work that we always have to do is them reconnecting with their inner child, with them taking the time to reconnect with and really heal all of the pain and suffering that is going on in there. You know, that little child really wants love and acceptance more than anything else, and they'll do whatever it takes to get it. And that's why we're always looking outside rather
Yeah.
than in to really figure out what we need. And that it's a matter of how much of yourself did you hide and discard? How much of yourself did you deny and ignore? How much of yourself did you just cover up so that because you were afraid it wasn't acceptable, that you weren't enough, that you weren't acceptable and worthy of getting the love and acceptance that you wanted from others? You know, so you have to go back in. You know, if you're really going to transform, you have to go back in and help that inner child heal. You know, all the emotions that it didn't know how to deal with or didn't have help dealing with. You have to work through those with that inner child, and so that you're kind of reparenting it and giving it the parenting that it needed. And
Yeah.
as that inner child becomes healed, you become more whole. And as you become more whole, you become more aware, you become more conscious, you become more mindful, you become more emotionally intelligent because you're really familiar with your own emotions, and that
Yeah.
definitely is emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and that translates into becoming more compassionate and empathetic with others. And that's when you can create an organization that's feels
Yeah.
safer, more trusting, more collaborative, cooperative, and interesting and in love. And those organizations are more successful. They make more money.
Yeah.
They actually are more productive, make more money. So if you really, if you're in business to make money, then become a conscious leader rather than having your ego just,
Yeah.
splashing through your organization and making everybody feel like crap.
I love
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
just I love that conversation because it's so true, and I see it every day. And sometimes you're trying to be not very harsh, you're trying to be still direct, so leaders understand it is actually on them. It is actually on their inner work to create success.
Yeah.
And it may sound ridiculous for a lot of people. They still live in that masculine world, that strategy driven world. And I'm not saying you don't need strategies. So you need strategies, of course. But there is that part of energy that we, like you said, we just kind of delete part of us. We just think that that's not us. We just disregard it. And
Mhm.
we don't want to say that, we can be vulnerable. We don't want to see it. We don't want to see our emotions. We don't want to see when we are sad, we cover that, we put a tough face, we're going to work like everything is okay, but we without realizing that showing actually real sadness and tell people, like I'm going through something, I'm here still supporting you, just to let you know that maybe sometimes you don't see my smile on my face, but just take it as my healing journey, and really have that acceptance for ourselves. I think we are so far away from that, and such a small amount of people are finding that journey finally. And I'm really hoping that this podcast will reach more people and will start to resonate with more people, because it is truly helpful, and it's giving the inner journey, I believe, gives you all what you want, because you observe, you see.
Well, it
And
turns life into an adventure rather than something you're kind of slogging through. It becomes something
love
you get
that.
to do rather than have to do. And
Yeah, right. That means this is all for people they feel bored. You don't need
right.
to be bored, because actually, even just sitting at home with yourself for
Yeah,
hours and hours, it's actually most amazing experience.
sure.
Like I don't understand
Boredom.
how people can be bored.
I think boredom, to be honest with you, if I ever feel bored, which it hasn't been for decades now, but that's just an indicator that you're ready to transform. There's an indicator that there's something there that you need to heal. And
Yeah,
that, to be honest with you, is what I see all emotions. All those emotions that we're so uncomfortable with in different times in our life are really nothing but indicators letting you know that a part of you is ready to be healed. And the
yeah,
beauty of that is when you're willing to breathe in and acknowledge and express whatever's holding that part back to heal that part, literally right underneath that is the very part you need to evolve in your life. And
Yeah.
so if you use those indicators, those emotions, those struggles, those issues in your life as indicators that you respond to and heal right away, it just becomes this process that you go through life. And
Yeah.
that's living mindfully. That's, which raises your awareness and level of consciousness.
Yeah, and absolutely. And when we feel, the funny thing is when people usually feel the boredom, they try to avoid that healing because they go to do something. That means
Yeah.
our major, I guess, trigger is, oh, I'm bored. And the next step is to let's do something. And they always find something, right? That means it's
Outside.
avoidance of that healing. Yeah, I can't believe how simple is that. And we can actually just sit down with that emotion and try to understand the part of us. Yeah, absolutely. I will
Yeah,
probably
it's
ask,
about self-awareness.
yeah, yeah. And self-awareness, right, is the most important part. And people think that we need to talk about another 20 million things, but the beginning and the foundation, it is actually self-awareness,
Right.
awareness of
Yeah.
yourself in every area. And oh, it's like, yeah,
And that turns into other awareness, and that turns
yeah,
even into a larger level of
yeah.
awareness.
And
And
you
that's
you
how
have
you become a
awareness.
conscious person.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. And you interact with your environment different way, and you start when you have that self-awareness, it's
completely
amazing how
different.
you can bring that awareness about your surroundings and environment and people, and you see things that you never ever saw before. And that fascinates me so much. Yeah.
Well, think
Oh,
in terms of consciousness as consciousness is nothing more than just how aware of your thinking are you? How aware of your feelings,
yeah.
physical and emotional, are you? How aware of your level of awareness or consciousness are you? And it's like the more aware you are, the more conscious you are, the more you're basically at the helm. That's gonna be what I can see why people are scared if they're at the effect of their emotions, if they're
Mm,
feeling like they can't figure out what they need to do because they're looking outside of themselves. That it might, I'd be honest with you, I haven't felt it for a long time, but it's got to be scary. It's got to be a helpless sort of feeling. And then to say let go more rather than cling more is
yeah.
like, well, I don't think so. Yeah. I think that the whole journey is really about breathing and letting go, breathing and becoming. And if people would just go, oh, okay, that's different. That's a different thing, and learn to trust that their lives would be completely different.
Yeah. Breathing and letting go, breathing and seeing
Become.
and become. Yeah. It's that's beautiful. I'll probably ask about your clients. When you think about leaders or what you see in the world of your customers and clients or people they reach out to you, what is the usual problem or how they reach out, how they know they should call you? What is the major issue, challenge they have or they're going through?
Yeah, most of the people that I work with are word of mouth, and they probably in discussing with somebody, either somebody has pointed out that that there's a personal issue and not just professional issue, or they support
Yeah.
them in becoming more emotionally aware. They become, they're not really accessing their capabilities. They might say it in various ways, but yeah, it's when they come to me, they usually have no idea what's going on. They just feel stuck.
Mm,
And that doesn't mean they haven't been incredibly successful, but they feel stuck in some way in their life, whether it's in personal or professional or whatever.
yeah.
And so all I do is help them sort of move through that fog that they're living in so that they can get a very clear vision of what's going on, why they feel stuck, where that came from, what they need to do to heal that.
Yeah.
And as they do that, they start getting excited and they're on this adventure of self-discovery and they're excited about it. And
Yeah.
by the time they finish my first program and they're in love with themselves, they have a new perspective, a new level of consciousness, which means they see and react and experience things differently. It's really a matter of they begin to go, okay, now I can see how this applies to leadership. I can see how it applies to being
Yeah.
in a relationship or in a family and that sort of thing. And they begin to integrate. That's really the mindfulness level. The first part is really who am I?
Awareness.
What am I?
Yeah.
Where, what's it all about? And the next level is really, okay, how do I live more mindfully
Mm.
so that I'm not only neurologically rewiring my brain, but so that I'm becoming more self-aware and conscious in a good, empowering way?
Yeah.
Because the higher level of your conscious, the more access you have to incredible levels of thinking. When you're fear-based, you really just don't have access, neurological access to your higher level thinking.
Yeah.
And so, you're going to be trying and efforting rather than trusting and becoming. So, it's just stages of that. And as they go into leadership, they look at, oh, I don't have to do it all myself. Matter of fact, I'm really, a leader is not the person in front. They're the one that's supporting everybody else and doing the best they can and bringing out the best in everybody else. And all of a sudden, they don't have to have the answer. They just have to be capable of, really working with a team to find what the best answers are.
Yeah.
And they begin to realize, oh, I don't have to be afraid. I just have to bring out the best in everyone to coordinate a team that feels trusted and organized so that we're working together in a collaborative way to you know, create something really important.
Yeah.
It's just like they come together in their life so that all aspects of their life becomes clear and focused on their highest intention. And so they do with their organization. It has a meaning, it has a purpose, it has a bigger meaning to it than just making money.
Yeah.
And everybody in that organization comes together and is in alignment. And of course, naturally, with everybody working towards the same goal and bringing their best to it, that's why they increase productivity and profits. It's an inevitable. All the research shows that it works every time,
Absolutely.
but all I have to do is learn to trust that rather than being fear-based that, oh, it's up to me and I've got to control this. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love when you said that people get excited, and I have some experience with people when we do like probably first month and a half or 2 months, when they
Mhm.
start to see, like, it's almost like next level of life. It's something that we don't touch normally when we run in the busy life, but
Right.
when you're in that next level, you see everything different way. You perceive the
Right.
world different way, and I see that people get excited because they are more happy. Like they're so happy in that state. And they calling me like, oh, I overcame stuff that I will never do. Like I had trauma from childhood and I did it. And I actually felt so good. Like I felt everything was shifting in me. And those experiences are making them whole all the time more and more. And
Bills
it's,
and bills and
yeah,
bills. Yeah.
and it's so beautiful how they enjoy it. And I love that. Yeah, it's almost like did we did this like that's amazing when you see that actually people start their own journey. It's almost like you're just watching, right? Like you're there as a guide, but at the same time you're watching them and everybody's going different way. And I really love when they get into the point that they just kind of take over and finally realize it's their journey. So you're there just listening sometimes, and it's just really learning
I,
how they grow. It's so
And
beautiful.
your word of guide is really the most accurate. That's
Yeah.
all I'm for doing is I'm familiar with this path that they want to go on.
Yes.
I'll guide them on that journey, and as far as they want to go on that journey, I'll be there for them and make sure it's working. And you
Yeah.
know, it is about them. It's about them looking within and trusting, and
Yeah.
us just helping them, through those stages. And yeah, so it's fun.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. Yeah. And you mentioned something that really resonates with me because I 100 million% agree with that successful people or success in leadership, it is actually about shifting awareness, shifting emotional intelligence, and being aware, same time being mindful, and start to really exercise that mindfulness in day-to-day operation. And
Right.
I believe that shift, because you mentioned it, and I love, because it's true. When people shift themselves in 1 month, for example, or sometimes in one session, right? Like people change so much, they start to see things differently. But also, do you agree that communication changes so much? Like they just communicate different way, and you didn't
Right.
need to tell them do this, or this is the tool, or this is the strategy. It's almost like they just get it. It's almost like everything come to the place, and now they're coming from different space of communicating. And I think that's the probably magic, right? Like they come more from that feminine and from the heart and from Like they really feel people around them. Before they were just employees or just team members or family, and like they still love them, but it's almost like you don't feel people when you are with them. But now they're connecting,
Yeah.
and
Well,
yeah,
they become more emotionally connected with themselves. They become
yeah,
more emotionally intelligent. Yeah, I mean, you could teach classes on communication, you could teach classes on emotional intelligence, but the truth is, if you help a person to heal,
yeah.
those things, as you say, become natural ways of being. They,
So
their consideration for themselves, the kindness towards themselves, is mirrored in their relationships with others. And so,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And same when you say relationships is very interesting how when you look at I think it was the documentary about people and places where they live the longest. And
Mhm.
the major thing or very common theme or part of their life was actually community and social interaction and relationships. They were
Yeah.
actually most important parts, and they really had those beautiful relationships without judgment, without comparison, without jealousy, like they really just collaborate together, no matter what age, no matter what type of group, they were all different but all together. And I found that so beautiful, and I think that's what we need a lot, because now we're creating still these silos groups, like you're a small business owner, you're a leader, then you need to go to CEO club, you are here, you need to be in this club. But actually true is that we need to have mixture of people in that club, right? Because you need to interact with all different people, and we still do it in
Well, yeah.
silos. Yeah.
I find leadership can come and does come from everyone. They
Thank you.
really,
Yeah.
they feel supported if they feel like they can trust the environment and the organization they're in, then they're going to have ideas. They're the person who knows more about
Yeah.
this one part of the business than anybody
Yeah.
else. So when people start contributing and really bringing their best into it,
Yeah.
they do inspire others. They do allow the company to move forward. And that leadership, that's their leadership training, of course, but it also allows, the whole perspective to begin to shift. And in that collaboration, that's where they find the success. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think everybody can be a leader, and that's the job of a leader, is to support everybody in
Yeah.
finding and enhancing their leadership. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, I will probably need to set up another podcast with you, because I think we can go deeper in the higher states. And I
All right.
know we both, yeah, we don't have very much time, and I don't want this to have, massive session. That means let's
Okay.
let's say, if you're okay with that, Ron, I will probably try to maybe invite you again in maybe 1 or 2 months' time. I would love to go deeper on the consciousness and the states,
Oh,
and just
good.
some kind of personal experience. But before
Mhm.
we go, I would love you to share with people where they can find you, how they can connect with you, and yeah, give them a little bit of idea.
Well, I think the simplest and way is just to go to my website at ronstotts.com. And there's really some amazing tools there that they can download for free. There's information about the programs, the books, everything is really there. If they want to get on a call with me, they can just, what is it now? Next Level Discovery Call. .com. Yeah, I have to check on there, my little cheat note there. But
Yeah, I will
yeah,
probably ask you to send it to me, and I will share the link as well in the comment on the description. That was, I'll probably ask you just to be sure that
yeah.
people have the right website.
And that's not a sales call. It's really just, where are you? Where would you like to be? And what do you need to do to get there? So I'm
Yeah,
really trying to help people recognize that there is a path, and that they just need to have the courage to step out onto that path and quit struggling and start living.
yeah. If you can maybe leave people with one more kind of note or insight, people they really feel, let's say they were listening our podcast, and they feel like, what, it's actually me, like I really struggle and I feel really down, and I just want to do something with my life, and I feel like there is no help, and I tried everything. What you will say as a message to those people?
I think your greatest help is find the courage to take a breath, and then find the courage to take another one and another one, and just breathe in and out. And as you do that, let yourself become curious. Let yourself take a look around and what you're feeling, what's going on around in your life, not reactively, but literally.
Yeah.
and begin to look for what your best next step is and breathe and take that step. And if you keep doing that, you'll recognize, oh, that's living mindfully. And it's really, if you're not breathing, then there's reasons not to trust. If you can breathe, then trust that that's the best next step.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful because so many times, even I, find myself like I wasn't aware of breathing, like just doing things, and I feel like I'm almost holding my breath. Yeah, it's just such
Yeah,
a simple thing about life force, right? Like the tool we can use is breath.
yeah.
Love
It's
that.
key. It's the key to all of it. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ron. Really, really appreciate your time.
Good.
I'm sure you will have beautiful evening and you can take yourself a beautiful walk.
I will
And
indeed.
I will definitely reconnect with you. I will ask you for another time because it was very insightful. And I think there is so much more we can share with people and help them to understand that, yes, talking to someone like yourself or talking to another coach or mentor or anyone who experience a little bit of journey to or a little bit of healing is so important and actually can bring so much more success and happiness in life. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to share more of that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, I look forward to that.
Thanks, Ron. Have a beautiful evening.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone.